All right, welcome everyone to day 3, MLP Daily, the shared journey with Lovable. I'm your host, Bob Barker. Come on down. Just kidding. My name's not Bob, it's Cam. So let's dive right in here. MLP Daily again. Anybody new joining us? This is us going through one day at a time, 5 messages at a time, which, fun fact, is the free daily message limit inside Lovable. Lovable is this AI building software platform, and we're just demonstrating every little piece of the way for this journey as we build a piece of software inside of Lovable. You can follow along, you can build your own software, you can just watch us for fun, but hopefully you can find some help and benefit out of this, learning some tips in Lovable and in product and software development as we go through all of this. So let's catch everybody up to where we were here. We've got our clicking app, right? You click the number and it increments. We can reload, and normally this would reset, but last episode we implemented authentication. We implemented this ability to save your account and your numbers. So we can sign out of John there. We can come back in and we can sign in as Jane. So here, Jane, it brought us back. We're at 46 was the count on her account. Her login, and we had chosen the fire theme with her specifically, but we do have this bug here, right? We logged in and nothing's clickable. We can reload the page and still logged in as Jane, and now everything is clickable. Double checking her user menu. We did have some various bugs that we were discovering throughout the system, including total clicks into day clicks. Obviously today is a different day than when we recorded last time, so they should have a difference in theory, but I don't think that I only had 2 clicks because I just logged in right at 47, I think was the number with Jane just a second ago, and that would have been, we're only at 9 clicks, but that's not accurate, unfortunately. So there's something going on with the tracking of that. That's one of many different things that we'll probably need to fix. Leaderboard here, it's not showing John. I don't know, was John's number high enough? I think it should have been. But we're here. You are here. Should probably have it say something like your name, and then in parentheses it should say you. I mean, especially for us right now, testing so that we can keep track of which account we are. But light dark mode still working, peachy keen. So yeah, this is where we're at, and we're gonna take it from here. We're gonna add some new changes, probably fix some bugs and adjust some things here. I'd say first of all, let's fix the fact that after logging in, to an account, it seems that the interface is busted. I can't click on anything and have to refresh the page every time after logging in. There we go. Okay. I don't really know what the issue is there, but we're just going to ask it to fix it. And then I'm going to ask a whole bunch of bits here about this user menu. So first one I'm going to say is several items about the user menu that we would like to adjust or fix. And I guess I'll do like a bulleted list here. Can we put it in the bottom left corner, not at the top? I don't know why it misunderstood that. I reviewed the recording. I totally said bottom left, and it got confused. Maybe I was asking it too many things at once, but let's make the user menu button a consistent component and style with the light dark mode button, which I think I may have pointed out. It's a little hard to see with the lighting in the background there. Let me go ahead and sign out. And then you can see that when we, I've got a blinding light in my eye. Maybe that's the wrong place to put my key light. But there's a little bit of a border around that when we hover it. And you can see it's an outline and it's subtle. But when we hover the user, it's like the whole circle, the fill of the circle that lights up. So we just want to have them the same. I'm not too particular at the moment on which style it is, but it'd be nice if they were consistent, right? The other thing that I want is when not logged in, I don't need the menu to actually expand. Clicking the user menu button should just spawn the login motor. And I think this is the last note that I had written. Finally, can we have the color of the user menu button? Finally, I guess what I want to add, when not logged in, And we have the color of the user menu button be at only, I'm going to ballpark it here. We're going to say maybe 34% opacity. So we want it to be fainter color until the click count reaches 10, at which point we can bring it up to 100% opacity. So opacity there is going to control how transparent or see-through it is. In this case, what I'm mostly achieving with it, because I have a black background, is the fact that initially, until like somebody's not logged in, until they reach 10 clicks, I kind of want it to be subtle and maybe not immediately stand out. Right now, it's really easy to see that we have this white button, this light and dark mode button, and then this big main button in the center, right? I would love for this to not stand out. And, you know, we might even come along at some point and modify the light dark to also be a little more faint, because the focus at the very beginning should just be this button, right? Just clicking this button. And so we're looking for something a little more dim until we reach 10 clicks. All right, there's kind of a bunch of things here, but more or less it's just the fact that the interface is broken after login and that we've got a bunch of tweaks specifically all just about this menu. We want to kind of clean it up to more of what we originally imagined. And that could be our fault. Maybe I didn't explain it well enough to begin with, but we did see also that it got hung up on some things. So I'm not going to take all the blame for that, but we'll run this command. It'll think about it. We'll fix the issues with the login process. I mean, I don't know if it's a process issue. I could make some guesses, but I don't really know off the top of my head what it likely is that causes it to freeze when we log in. Some other items that we might be looking at, you know, I've already addressed a few of them from our kind of our review earlier, but getting some real users in here would be good. We've got John and Jane, and we can make a bunch more accounts if we need to, just for the sake of testing. Testing is a very important part of building software, of building anything really. It doesn't matter if it's a digital product, a physical product, a piece of SaaS software, a template, a file, whatever it is. You probably should always have at least some level, depending on the type of product. You got to have some level of testing. It's how you discover bugs. It's how you think about the platform more and more and more the way that your user would. Hopefully you're inspired by your users to begin with. You've had some of the pain points yourself, and that's why you're even building it. But it always helps to be doing testing. It's a super important part of building and creating any product, really. So the user login button is, oh, I'm a fool. It's in the bottom. It's exactly where I wanted to be, which is good. It's so faint that I didn't even notice that it was there. That's what we wanted, guys. Okay. And then if I click on it, it goes straight to the modal. There's no menu at this point, which is great. And in the choice of wording, I love this too. It's like, welcome back, right? I haven't clicked anything yet. And if I know that that button's there, then obviously I'm coming back as a return user. So that's excellent. Yeah, the opacity looks good. Let's try this out. Once we hit, so we're at 9 and just watching for the opacity there. Boom. At 10, you can see it's full brightness. 100%, exactly what I wanted. I do think it looks like that we didn't quite get the button styles to match. So user menu, maybe consistent. Yeah, so that I don't believe. I don't know what's missing, and we can dig into that more another time. But it didn't quite get them to and I don't know if it made any changes really. But and I didn't ask for this, but I appreciate that it's properly tracking and updating the last login timestamp. Looks like our index.tsx is getting kind of big, so may need to modify that at some point. Let's come back and let's do the login here. Oops, why did I put a space? I'm going to pick something easier to type in the future. Okay, I don't know if I was at 13. Let's check super quick, hopefully before it updates. Back over in our database, it does show John at 13. I don't think that, is that really what we were at? No, it reloaded. That breaks what I was trying to test if the buttons work after login, because we're hoping to verify if it made that fix or not. Okay, leaderboard. Themes, today's clicks. Yeah, today's clicks and total clicks are definitely off. Interesting. All the clicks in there will close the user menu. Okay, we logged out and it reset things in the interface. It's looking good. Okay, we're at 4. I know we're not at 4. Let's check it beforehand. Okay, Jane is at 56 or 54. Looks like John's hasn't updated yet either. We can refresh this page here in the database. There we go. Yeah, that was what we just clicked up to, I think. 57, 55. So, and of course, it's going to reload. Let's come log in. Jane. Okay, looks like it pulled us to the correct number there. Plus, I just barely logged in, right? and it's working. The clicks are working. This is good. This is really good, guys. Okay. Now let's sign out. I didn't look too close on what the number was. What I wanted though was this. Okay, so we're at 7 now. And now we're going to come in at jane@gmail.com. Sign in. Okay, pulled us back to 66. Okay, just making sure everything's working, right? What I want to test now is we'll go up to 14, and we're going to come create a new account here. So this one is Bob, and is it going to, yeah, okay, it's going to validate and expect that we actually have the email address pattern here, which is probably going to say I need a .domain as well. Oh, and I have to, that's right. Okay, that was interesting. Typically, I think that email verification is going to be checking for a domain at the end, which is something like gmail.com or yahoo.com or USA.gov or something, right? But it didn't verify that I had anything at the end, so that's interesting. What we had there, right, was we were at number 14. I created an account, and now it put me at 0. So this is one of the things I want to tackle right now, is that I want, when I log in, I want it to show me, you know, when I create a new account, sorry, I want it to maintain that, right? And that's part of the experience. If I'm coming into this as a new user and I start clicking, I want to make sure that that progress I made before the account, I want to save that. I know that there are platforms and apps that don't necessarily do that kind of thing. It's like, oh, well, now that you have an account, let's start over. I think that's a bad experience, right? Like they've already spent, even if it's only 15 clicks, they've already spent that time, right? And setting somebody back unnecessarily is a bad user experience. So I'm going to ask it first to refactor. Enter the index.tsx file. Then we want to ensure that if a user starts clicking without being logged in, and then afterwards creates an account, we want any clicks that they've accomplished so far to be saved into their new account. Right. Obviously, if we're logging into an existing user, that's a different story. That's going to bring us back to whatever that number should have been for that user account. In this case, we're strictly talking about if we create a new user account, we want to make sure that if they make unauthenticated progress, not logged in, we want to save that progress. So hopefully that's clear enough instructions that it can handle that. And while we're here, we're going to throw in while we're at it, can we start showing real users now in the leaderboard? Thanks, Lovable. You're the best. And of course, a very fitting heart emoji for Lovable. So I've seen it be somewhat friendly. We'll see how much personality it actually has. It's not a big request there. Refactoring, implementing click persistence for new accounts, and finally updating the leaderboard to show real users. Dude, I was so nice to you, and you're just like cold and machine-like to me, so fine. I will be cold and impersonable to you from now on. Remember, leaderboard still doesn't have anybody. Oh, and I know what I wanted to add to that, right? I wanted my username. And, you know, actually, we don't have a concept of a username. I didn't even think about that. Everybody here, it's like a first name, and what we've been logging in with is an email address. And so we probably need to add something to a profile-ish level of account management that somebody also has like a display name that they choose to put out there. Again, those are like people's first names. Lots of people out there have duplicate first names. So we probably want to create some kind of username that is unique and that we don't let any, duplicate usernames exist. So that way, like, something's on a leaderboard, it is at least unique to, it's not saying like, oh, John's up there twice, because I'm probably going to make more than one test account named John, right? Okay, refactored persistence for new accounts. And oh, so this is interesting, and I actually don't know if I've seen very much of this yet, but I can see that Lovable is suggesting some additional functionality here, which maybe we'll click on one of those in a second. It'll probably burn a whole message for just that one piece rather than me kind of making like a bulk order with 2 or 3 things in it. But we do see here we've got U at 17 and B at 17, and I am B. So it's a little interesting. Seems like maybe a slight bit of an error that it's not pulling in. We should have John and Jane in here technically. And I wouldn't be surprised if part of that has to do with some of the security in the database, something they call role level security. All right, now I just signed out, but it didn't confirm to me per se that it signed out. At least it looked like it still had be at, and now it's acting like I'm not logged in, but it was at 25. So let's just refresh this to be safe here. Interesting. So what I think I see it doing now is it's leveraging something like our cache or our cookies, because now when I refresh, it's not losing the number like it was at the very beginning and for forever until we added user accounts. Which I can definitely see why it recommended this like daily click reset. Yeah, I had a lot of plans for today, and we've already used up 2 messages. We got plenty of things to fix. It is looking and feeling good. It's coming along. But I'm really, really curious about this message over here that Lovable has. So you may find these at times. I don't know for sure what prompts when Lovable puts these across, but we're just going to try this suggested button here to add stats visualization. Okay, it looks like it came up with a whole paragraph for me. Okay, seeing progress over time. That's always exciting. Here's you, not logged in. Okay, so in order to have more progress, visualization, data, and things like that, especially data over time, it's going to need to add some things to our database. So we'll just go along with it for now. Curious to see what it comes up with out of this, but just kind of take a note to myself here. I also see the stop button, which I think I looked for that before and it wasn't there. I might have missed it, but that could be useful because it doesn't technically seem to count your credits until it's done and confirm that there's no error. So maybe you type something and you change your mind. Maybe on our next message, we will give that stop button a try and we'll see what happens with it. And if it just stops us dead in our tracks, then we can just resend the same message potentially. We'll see also though, I guess, maybe if it takes away from our account for the day. Some other items that are on the docket. I was imagining that once we reach a certain click amount, we've kind of talked about this a little bit before, but we would introduce like a new half or portion of the app. So I was imagining that over here in the left side, we would spawn a little arrow button, the same way that the other kind of buttons have come onto the interface. And that button would let us slide the whole thing over and shift to the side. And that would be just this separate part of the app that isn't necessarily the clicking game, but it's about helping us learn data or find news about data or just any other kind of functionality or information that we want. I think in episode 1, Matt talked about a cooldown period. So if somebody's clicking too much too fast on the game, then it forces them over to the other side. So that's something we could give a look at. I was also considering adding some new branching themes. We got the fire and the ice, but it'd be good to try maybe a couple more layers deeper on, I go ice path, it branches, and each of those then can branch into 2 more ways. I go fire path, it can branch, those branch. So those are some ideas still in the kind of in the pot there to think about. Looks like our page is blank. Okay, we're back here at 39. Let's go look at the leaderboard. It's got our all-time, our daily, and it's got our stats. Sign in to see your click history and stats. Track your progress over time. Pretty decent, I guess. Now, I don't think we tested this from the last prompt, but technically what we were looking for is we're looking that when I create, by the way, this is login, so it should fail because there isn't an account. We do want to sign up with that account, though. Create account. It kept our 44, which was nice. Weirdly enough, I have a separate button now. Okay, I like this. I like seeing like our click history over time on different days. A 7-day total, a daily average, your best day. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so again, we're still only seeing John here, so that's another bug that we need to fix. Yeah, truth be told, I think I like what it came up with. It wasn't a feature that I was considering at the moment, but I think we're going to go with it. And we'll have to watch over time, I guess, and see in subsequent days. There are ways that we could try and fake some of this data and test it, but I'd like to see probably its behavior like through real use of the application. So keep an eye and look at the stats, and maybe we'll come back and adjust it at some point. I do, though, want to, yeah, it looks like the stats button down here. I like these like visualizations, by the way, like the fact that it's got these interactive graphs that I can hover over different days and get my tooltips. It's a little jumpy in the animation, but like it's awesome. It's super cool that it just came up with this. So I do like that. I do think though I want to get rid of this button, and I want to rename this one here. So what I'm going to demonstrate here really quick now is the visual edit feature inside of Lovable. This is something that will let you make basically free changes, and it doesn't require you to go into the code. We're still not expecting people at this level of interaction to be working with code, but it's this button here. So we're going to select to edit. And at that point, I can pick different elements on our screen, and then I can click on them. I can make changes. So what I'm going to change is the name of this. It says view leaderboard. What we're going to call this is leaderboard and stats. And then I feel like that wording works well enough for now that we can kind of condense the functionality to have both of these guys be in the same button. They already are, but it gave us an extra button for some reason. So we've changed what it says in text. There's all kinds of other options here where we could change, how big it is. What? Yeah, we don't want that. Just keep it the size that it was. You can change. It's a little hard to see with some of the colors. Well, yeah, it makes it pretty easy to see. You can change padding. You can make the button a little bit different. There's all kinds of layers to deal with, and so don't expect that like just picking and pulling at knobs is going to get everything immediately the way you want it. I also would say from some of what I've seen that I've had mixed results with some of the visual edits. It can definitely be useful in a small, quick example like what we've just demonstrated here, where we were able to rename this button. I'm just debating now, like should I up the padding a little bit? Should I modify any of it? You can change the font weight of it there. It's all fine and dandy, but I think keeping it normal is good. Keeping the colors good. You could do things like alignment, but because our unless we upped the probably the margin there, you can see it's only doing my left margin, which is really strange. Next text left, text right. Oh no, it did both sides of the margin. I just couldn't see very well. Again, back to that key light that I had. So I got a lot of changes here. This is representing all the changes that I did kind of in the code through a language called CSS, or custom Tailwind classes that they have for the CSS. You don't have to worry about that. If you do learn about that, you can make some slightly different changes and adjustments here that might not be part of the options above here, but for now, right, this is a visual editor where you can pick something, you can make changes to it. I'm going to discard those for a moment. Did not expect it to reload on me. Come back into our visual edit. It's interesting that it remembered the name that I wanted, even though it changed it in the app. So one other thing too is like where sometimes you've got all these different objects, it can be hard to select them. They do have this functionality here. You can select parent. So this is the text box that has view leaderboard. If I select parent, now you can see it's the entire button, the entire view leaderboard button here. Wow, it's a little janky when we move our cursor around a whole bunch like that. And there are certain things that it can't edit, by the way, so just keep in mind, like, you're not going to get everything perfect out of this, but if you need to make some small changes, it could be a valuable thing to check out and not use up one of your messages for the daily message limit. Come back in here and rename this the way we wanted it. Stats, hit save. Once you save, it's going to show up as an item here in the history, so it's another restore point that you can jump to, and it's going to put that into the code. So it's done and done. It's sealed. So a couple of things I wanted to call out to Lovable here is I like the stats, but I don't think we needed we needed a redundant button. I've renamed the one button to make sense for showing users both the leaderboard and their stats. Can you just remove the my stats button, please? And then also, I'm not seeing any other users in the leaderboard, even though we have a few already in our system. Is this some kind of row level security issue in the database where we can't see their scores? If so, we need to make sure that so we need to handle like what data from an account is private versus public, right? And in general, you need to maintain privacy. In this case, the score and the, we talked about this username concept. We probably need to implement that because obviously showing someone's email address in the leaderboard is not going to be, a good protection of privacy in that case. So what we want is before we tell it all of that stuff, can we introduce the concept of a user display name? I think is what I called it earlier. This will be used to show on the leaderboard and should be chosen at sign up. Should also be a unique field with where the system doesn't let a user claim a display name that is already in use. Let's allow only alphanumeric, so just letters and numbers. And underscores and dashes, maybe. I guess, I don't know, whatever. And underscores. And then back to what we were saying about the security, the scoreboard, the scores and the display names of all users are publicly visible so that the leaderboard functions properly. Okay, so fixing the leaderboard, adding the display names in, and also getting rid of the My Stats button. Send it. Depending on how that goes and what we get. Oh, you know what I forgot, guys? I forgot the fact that the number like never goes down now, right? Because when I come and click sign out, it keeps that 50 there. See, I think this is great that it shows like you gotta sign in to see your click history and stats. I didn't, I can tell like it had the, let's go review these SQL changes, which is going to be adding the display name for us. That's what it seems to be, including like some of that formatting rules that I described. So it's giving us some, oh my gosh, I blanked on the word, that whole thing about like searching and syntax and, anyways, yes, there's a name for it and I'm blanking on it, but it's applying that rule of what can be in the display name, and the policy as well for what is public. Anyone can view click history for charts. We don't know exactly what they're going to do with that. That was not something that I intended. I just intended that the click scores, which I would assume like should hopefully be interpreted as the daily and the total clicks, along with the display name, were going to be the only things that should have been visible publicly. So we'll see what it gives. I mean, don't be insulted there. It was redundant, but one thing that this is also going to be interesting is we may have a little bit of a broken system because it's going to expect display names. And we so far have created, I believe, 3 accounts now, and none of those accounts are going to have display names. See, it's already executed that part where we got 4 accounts actually. These guys should all have display names, but they don't. Weird. They also have phone number provider type. Very strange. Go back over here. It's made some updates, but it's still doing some other updates. Leaderboard stats. Hey, look, so now we can see the other people in here. That looks like some good progress. The daily reset, that's another thing that we still need to address as well. And the stats, not signed in, so perfect. It's because I was John. I was just signed in as John. Now I'm 52. Look at that. Okay. It wants to refactor a couple files when we get a chance. Let's come in here. Oops, it's refreshing. Which, by the way, it made changes before, at that first point where I was checking on the app. It had made SQL changes over in the database, rules and things over there, which was what needed to be fixed in order for you to see what's going on here in the leaderboard, that public kind of thing of the info. It had not updated the code files yet, and that was what happened. Just barely refreshed the page for us. So if we come in over here, I probably need to put the one in the name before, but we'll just give this a whirl. I think that wasn't actually. Give this login a chance. Your 52 clicks have been saved to your account. See, that's another problem too, is now like I was at a higher click count. So I think this was an issue in the previous episode, where I could get the click really high and sign into new accounts and it would give me that number, which this is interesting. Yeah, we're gonna have to explain it really well to it and say, yo, stop breaking this. And is this not just the same as that, John? I'm not sure. It's like these are good. Oh, what? Okay, it's doubling it up, right? No, 52. Yeah, it's gonna like this 102. I don't think we clicked anybody up to 102 yet. Yeah, and it's what the daily is showing 102, but it's not on the all time. So the daily is what's busted, right? 7-day total, best day. Oh, we got bugs, guys. Got a whole bunch of bugs, and we've only got one message left for the day. So we're not going to get to some of that new functionality because I don't feel like I can leave some of this in this state and carry on. Let's first refactor leaderboard.tsx and index.tsx. And then it seems we have some bugs. We need to make sure that upon log out, let's call it out, that there seems to be an issue with how we're trying to hold on to the logged out click count. It conflicts with the rest of the application's login and log out behavior a few ways. When logging out now, it doesn't reset the game and interface all back to 0 and a fresh start, fresh slate. Count. So I just witnessed, like, is this like cheater mode, right? That was behaving weird. It bumps up their count to reflect the total we were at when they were logged out. We only, like I explained some of this when we set it up a message or two ago, right? That if this is only for creating new accounts. Preserve the total from an unauthenticated state when the user is creating a new account, not when they are logging into an existing account. Unfortunately, it also seems we have some issues with counting and handling click totals. I'm logged into an account right now. And let's go check real quick, right? Remember, the accounts we had so far, they don't have display names. It looks like the system assumed, maybe even populated if we refresh here. It did not populate their display name, but maybe it made an assumption based on the email up until the @ symbol and assumed that that should be their display name for now, since that seems to be what we're seeing. But 3, there's an extra entry in the leaderboard, one more than the actual number of users on the system. It seems to be affecting some of the totals. I'm being a little vague about this because it's important for me to troubleshoot from my end, but I also would hope that the AI is able to help troubleshoot and figure out a lot of this for me. So more or less just describing the behavior that I'm seeing, and not necessarily trying too hard to make assumptions on how it's handling things. I definitely could. I did good in math in school, but it hurts my brain too. So let's not if we don't have to. It seems like a combined. And along with all of this, I'm putting so much into the finale for our final message today. also seems to be off. We haven't had like proper daily counting since we tried to implement it initially. I feel like it's not reflecting the clicks from just today. Can we make sure this is counting correctly and that there's a reset for the daily clicks at UTC midnight every day? Didn't need a comma, I don't think, for that. Put some note text calling this fact, this reset time out, underneath the daily totals page in the leaderboard. All right, let's recap real quick. It's a whole bunch, and we'll send off the last one. So we're going to ask it to refactor these two. And then just saying we got some bugs with the click counting. This is generally setting up the situation. I think it's not a bad idea to make sure that you give some context and explain, even just in plain English, right? You don't have to be super technical about it, but the system is supposed to be built to understand the way that you're communicating things. And so if you can give more details, articulate more of what you're thinking or expecting or hoping to see, it should hopefully just help. It should give more context and make things more clear for the AI to take care of your situation. So it's not resetting on logout. Also, the cheater mode that gets people in, it should just be for creating new accounts, not logging into existing ones. And then there's just like all the click count total stuff that's getting kind of weird over here, the extra row and the daily method being off. Real quick though, let's check here. Let's come sign out. It did change the icon at least, so I can tell that I was in a signed out state. If I go to sign up, perfect. This is what I wanted. I wanted to make sure that the display name is an option here. So John the Greatest, and then the email is going to be, at this point, now it doesn't matter. I can just put John at 2. So we created an account, gave us the 52 again, but now we can see like an explicitly indicated display name there. And if we go back to our database, just make sure you see this here. Here's John at 2. It does not show the display name, ironically enough. But if we go into the profiles, maybe. Okay, so it's no, that's the username, theme, total clicks, last reset email, updated at display name. So weirdly enough, in the users table here, it has some fields that aren't being used, like display name, phone, provider. Also has the last sign in at. These all seem, these are a little different. These are capitalized and in like plain English case. But if we're looking at the profiles tab, you can see like these all have underscores and everything. You can't have spaces in these tables, in the column headers. So it seems that it is generating a username, and that username is probably what is being pulled off of the email, everything before the at. And we implemented this separate function of the display name, and it's falling back. If it doesn't see a display name, then it's just using the username is what I'm seeing here. So, and that was the one thing I just wanted to verify before I sent this message, is that the display name seemed to be working the way that we would expect. Sure enough, that's a little more clear now because I have a display name. So I am going to actually go modify. There's an extra entry in the leaderboard, a duplicate for me since I'm logged in. Duplicate the logged in user. I do like that it highlights and calls this one out, and I wanted to maintain that functionality. I'm hoping that it will. I'm going to see if I don't specify if it keeps up with it. So let's shoot off the whammy of the finale. Close this guy here. And just idly click away, since what else am I supposed to do? I'm going to tackle these in order. First, it's going to refactor, and then bugs with click persistence, authentication, and the leaderboard display. I know, I gave you a lot, but you can handle it. That was trippy. Why did it? Had some sort of like login catcher glitch or something. Today's clicks, 170 versus total clicks. Obviously, that doesn't make sense, right? So let's go peek in at the code that it's working on. Table body, table row, table cell. I was modifying the, this is the structure of our stats here. You can, so it says right here, click stats, because I had the metric, the 7-day total, daily average. This is the bottom of the click stats. It's treating it as like a table, which if you've ever used like Excel or any kind of spreadsheet, or really even when we're looking at our database, that's basically a table. But it's a little bit different. It's a styled table. You don't see the lines necessarily. You don't have to see the lines, right? But still, it's got rows and columns and things, and that's how it's filling out the information, displaying it to you. It's got just above here. It looks like it's using something called recharts, is how it's handling the graphical kind of data visualizations that it was giving us. Super cool. It just figured all that out on its own, right? It just knows, all right, I need some sort of data viz, so I'm going to go find this library or package or this way to handle data visualization. I'm going to take care of that for my user. It's pretty spiffy. It's awesome, really. So still working away. Now we're down here looking at leaderboard file. I think that was one of the two that it was supposed to refactor. So if I go all the way back up here to the top, I'm gonna refactor. Oh, so let's see. Create a new file for the leaderboard list. Okay, so it broke out from what used to be in the leaderboard file, right? Again, refactoring, just kind of trimming it down, making it cleaner, giving us less going on there. All right, so it's supposedly done all of these changes. Further refactor auth context. I don't think it gave us any kind of SQL stuff earlier. I don't know what changes it's implying here, implying to apply, but we're out of messages, so none of these guys are going to work. The error isn't going to let us fix it. I'll show you here in a second. But supposedly, broke the large files down, fixed authentication. We'll test that and see. Clears local storage. So local storage is somehow the way that it was tracking what we were at. Only transfers local clicks to a new account, not existing accounts. Like, I'm glad it recognized what I was communicating to it. Leaderboard display issues, so no duplicates. Fixing how we fetch the user data. What is this validation and sign up form? Did it not already have that? Uniqueness check. It might have gotten hung up on like our previous command as well. If we go in here, it didn't. It could be related to the fact that it hit this error, and so it hasn't actually applied all the changes. If you hit an error, you may see some of the changes that you requested, but you might not see all of them. And that's some of the nature of just how things are getting built and compiled and ran. And so I don't know for sure if it did something to actually fix these or not, because clearly we still have a duplicate here. The daily is the same as John the Greatest. Did get this part here, which was in our most recent message, right? We said, let's reset them at UTC and put some kind of call out. This is exactly what I wanted, right? It was something, I didn't have too specific expectations on where or what it looked like, but let the users know that we're resetting at this time. The stats still looking good. It calls out the daily reset again here, which is cool. Let's check. Let's do this whole like sign out thing again. Perfect. So it did apply that part again. Hopefully though, we're not like going in some cyclical like break here. So it did, it seems like it cleared local storage, right? If I come back in and we log in, that was John 2. Brings us back to 109. That seems correct. Let's go log out again. Okay. Now let's do some clicks. 12. There's our 10. It brought our thing. Our 15 shows, oh, there's a leaderboard. You're like, wait, what's the leaderboard? Okay, we're not logged in, which is appropriate, I think. We would be on the daily, assuming like 10 was the max, and I guess we didn't specify that. But I think that's all it had before, right? Was 10. So, but it doesn't have a display name for us, and that makes sense. Like, we really shouldn't show up if we don't have a display name yet. So, what we should test out here, though, is I forget which of these it was, but we could do Jane. So let's go past up 64. Whoops, this one. Spam this button, my friends. Okay, so we're at a pretty decent number. I also think no, Jane was fire as well. Okay, I missed it actually. Did we? I'm gonna redo that. I'm sorry, friends. I didn't notice at 25. Did we get the choice? We didn't get the choice, did we? Oh, we did. Okay. Or did we not because it had somehow held on to that factoid from the last thing that we were logged into? Okay, so now I'm going to go try out logging into Jane, who's at 66, and we're at 78. Jane was Jane at Jane.com, I believe. Okay, brought the number back down. It didn't give her 76. It put us back on fire mode, which is great. That's what we were expecting and what we wanted. I think it hopefully, from everything I can see, handled that fix appropriately. Got back into the leaderboard. Still does have that extra row, and that could be related to some of the things that it hasn't finished applying. It could be related to the error message here. Toggle form, sign up process. Yeah, so that's something we should go test here too real quick. Let's go test sign out. Just double check for my sanity here. We hit 25, and we did get the choice. I think I might have had my cursor positioned on the left of the first button early a few minutes ago, so that as I was spamming, it just actually kept clicking and it hit the fire one, maybe. Now let's go do sign up here, and this one is Jean. Okay, email is Jean3. Sign up for this new account. Unexpected error occurred, but I saw some stuff in the back. It looked like it did sign us in, and we do have an account here. How's it looking on the leaderboard? Okay, duplicate as always, of course. It looked like it was fine. It let us sign up. Let's go validate in the database here. We're just looking at the profiles. There should be 6. Sure enough, we got Jean. Interestingly enough, B never made it to 25. And I may forget, and I hope I don't, but I'm going to mention it now that one of the edge cases that we'll need to test. In fact, I think we can go do this real quick here. Other than the fact that like there maybe is errors with creating an account. Let's go sign out. I want to get to 25. And then now I want to go create an account. And this is Johnny Appleseed. Enter. So it's giving us like, it's acting like there's an error. I do like, it's like, click submit and save to your account. Progress saved. But now let's go sign out. We're at 6. Just for kicks again. When we hit 10, it brightens up in the corner. It's perfect. Okay, let's go log back in. And that one is John at 4. Brings us to 25, and it puts us at the choice state. I love it. I love it so much. That's exactly what I was hoping. It's kind of an edge case that somebody like stops at 25. Edge case meaning like it doesn't happen all the time or as often. But it handled the situation just fine, which is great. Let's test one other thing here too. We had B at B, and it pulls us to 24. We don't have a theme yet, so I think we've fixed the login, log out, the number tracking. I think more or less we have the user account creation settled, except for that error it's showing, even though I don't see an error happening. Maybe once we can hit apply changes, which will have to be once we have quota. I'll just show you guys here real quick. Apply changes. I've ran the SQL. Looks good. Just kidding. This is the paywall here that we hit. So speaking of, daily limits reset at midnight UTC. That looks familiar. And the same thing if you go into an error, even though apply changes shouldn't count to your message limit, and even though the try to fix it in this wrench shouldn't count to your message limit, if you don't have any limit left for the day, they're not going to let you run it. So I think this is where we stop, but we made some good progress. It doesn't look drastically different. We moved the menu down. We fixed the way it behaved. Just small tweaks today, and yet somehow we still took plenty of time. But it's progress, I think, and it's good. So thanks for tuning in. As always, like and subscribe to follow this journey and keep up with us and Lovable and AI, and comment any insights you have, feedback, suggestions, maybe something we should consider or do for this click counting app and game and stats platform. But otherwise, thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.